They alone live forever who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. Mythili Sivaraman, throughout her career, lived for others. Therefore, even if she is dead, she is living with us, and not only to this day, for all the years to come, because her contribution is such. But many of us, we live, yet we are dead, because we don't live for others. That is the situation. Therefore, people who live for others will be always remembered. Mythili Sivaraman, who is such a tall, towering personality, to be remembered generation after generation. Keeping this in mind, I am invited to speak with regard to the Constitution. Morning also, in a All India Lawyers Union forum, at the invitation of my friend Yalango, a senior advocate in Chennai, I delivered a lecture on Constitution. I don't want to repeat that lecture here, but then I have to say something with regard to the Constitution. In 1947, India became independent. In 1950, by accepting the world's biggest written constitution, India became republic. We have completed 72 years of Republic of India. We are in 73rd year. In these 72 years, under the Indian Constitution, we have made some achievement. I do not subscribe to the argument that nothing is achieved in these 70 years. Yes, I agree with some of my friends who say that we have not achieved what we could have achieved. We could have achieved much more. True, that I agree. But it is not correct to argue that nothing is achieved after independence. Keeping this in mind, we have to examine what is the present situation in the country today. Nation is facing both problems and challenges. So also, Constitution is also facing problems and challenges. The problems and challenges to the Constitution, what is the source for it? The biggest source is way back in 1949, on November 26th, when the final draft Constitution was presented to the Government of India for its approval. Dr. Ambedkar gave a warning. That warning was, however good a constitution may be, if it is in the hands of bad people, a good constitution is apt to become a bad constitution. Today, our constitution is not in the hands of good people. It is in the hands of bad people. Therefore, our constitution is turning out to be a bad document. That is the biggest challenge today. Therefore, it is our obligation, our historical duty, our constitutional duty to see that the constitution is placed in the hands of good people so that it can be turned out to be a good constitution. That is one of the... Friends, our constitution, no article in the Indian Constitution specifies what are its basic features. No article. But the Supreme Court of India, way back in 1973, in Keshavananda Bharati's case, for the first time, propounded a theory called the basic features of the Constitution. They culled out from the Constitution certain basic features. Then they listed it in that judgment. What are the basic features of the Constitution? Thereafter, the Supreme Court in several pronouncements, like S.R. Bommai's case, Minerva Mills case, in this way, Maneka Gandhi's case, In this way, in some of the judgments, they further improved the list of basic features of the Constitution. As of now, the basic features of the Indian Constitution are sovereignty of the nation, supremacy of the Constitution, parliamentary democracy, secularism, social justice, welfare state, fundamental rights, federal system, plural system. Like this, the Supreme Court has listed the basic features of the Constitution. In Keshavananda Bharati's case, the Supreme Court further went to the extent of saying these basic features of the Indian Constitution are untouchable and unamendable. No matter which party comes to the power, what majority they enjoy, they have no right to touch the basic features of the Constitution. They have no right to amend the Constitution. It is therefore, even after 105 amendments to the Indian Constitution in these 72 years, no government could able to change its basic features. But unfortunately, today we are in a stage where they are not changing the Constitution. They are not changing the basic features. They are dysfunctioning. They are making irrelevant the basic features of the Constitution. I can go on narrating one by one for hours and hours together to you that how the present regime is making irrelevant some of the basic features of the Constitution. Say for example, what is meant by sovereignty of the nation? Sovereignty of the nation means capacity of the government to take independent decisions. Capacity of the government to take independent decisions without being influenced by others. Capacity of the government to take decisions without being depending on others. Are we seeing that our governments are taking decisions in this fashion? Transnational companies, multinational companies, national capitals are bringing pressure on government and making them to enact laws. The whole farming community in this country don't want farm laws. They agitated for 1 year, but government has brought farm laws without debate in the parliament, without consulting the experts, without consulting the agriculture economists, without consulting the farmers. After 1 year, without debate, without telling reasons, they withdrew those farmers. Can we call this as a sovereignty of a nation? No. All this happened at the command of certain multinational companies. Multinational companies want to gain control over the natural resources like land, water, forest, minerals all over the world. As a part of it, the farm laws come. These farm laws came at the dictum and command and influence of these companies. But our government yielded. The working class in the country don't want labor legislations. But government of India brought four labor codes. At whose interest? The whole workers in the country don't want that. But you are forcing on us. What is the reason behind it? At the command of some other forces you are bringing. Keeping in the interest of inflow of capital from outside, inviting foreign companies to India, you are bringing these legislations and reforms in the labor code to facilitate it. You are not taking independent. Do you call this as sovereignty? No. Communal forces, fundamental forces are bringing pressure on the government to enact laws, to take certain decisions. Say for example, Citizenship Amendment Act. This is an act brought keeping eye on certain religions, to favor certain religion. Any law based on religion is constitutional law? No. Even if it is unconstitutional, you brought that law at the dictum of communal forces and fundamentalist forces. Love jihadi. Certain states have passed bills relating to conversion, cow slaughtering. Again, these bills are passed keeping eye on certain religions. At the instance of communal forces, at the instance of fundamental forces. Do you call this as a sovereignty of a nation? Therefore, we are in a situation where our governments are working against the spirit of constitution. That is, yielding to the pressure of multinational companies, transnational companies and national capitals, fundamentalists and communal forces. This is the second biggest challenge that the country is facing today. Our parliamentary democracy is the basic feature of Indian constitution. Secularism, basic feature of the constitution. Social justice is basic feature of the constitution. Day by day they are weakening it. The composition of Indian parliament, you look at it. 82% of the elected representatives in the present parliament, that is 19th Lok Sabha, are crorepattis. 43% are having the criminal cases against them. If conviction is there, they have to undergo a sentence of either death sentence or life sentence. These are our parliament members. 54% of the parliament members are having hereditary family background, industrial background, real estate background, black marketing background. That is the reason why in parliament today bills are passed without being debated. In one session, 20 to 23 days that has to function. Without transact 1 minute business, 23 days is wasted. 200 crores of rupees is spent. Have you heard any parliament member refusing that we have not debated, therefore I don't accept the perks? Have you heard anywhere? Everyone has withdrawn, but not a single minute they debated for us. This is the type of functioning of the parliament. 48% of the bills are passed in the parliament without debate. The most important bill is the finance bill, that is the budget, which affects the day-to-day life of 140 crore population of this country. Even the finance bill, that is the budget, is passed without debate. Problems affecting our bread, our education, our health, our employment is not being debated. Emotional issues are. This is the functioning of our parliament. Social justice is one such other thing. Secularism is such other thing. These are all the challenges where, without changing the constitution, without changing the basic features of the constitution, they are weakening the constitution, they are making irrelevant certain basic features of the Indian constitution. This is very dangerous situation. Friends, if we lose our constitution, then we have to remember that we will lose democracy. We will lose secularism. We will lose social justice. We will lose federalism. We will lose welfare state. In such a situation, anarchy will dominate. In an anarchical system, communal forces will rise their ugly head. When communal forces rise their ugly head, then we are all required to live like slaves. We have to forgo what we have achieved, what we have enjoyed in the last 73 years of Republic of India. Country is celebrating 75th year of independence. In such a situation, every democratic institution is being weakened. be it Reserve Bank of India, Election Commission of India, CBI, Enforcement Directorate, Investigation Agency. This is the thing that we are. Tell me which institution is functioning independently. Well, tell me which institution is functioning without being dominated by the political masters. I can go on giving hundreds and hundreds of examples. Without consulting the Governor of Reserve Bank of India, demonetization was brought in. You brought GST, making the state government to stand before you with a begging bowl in your hand. You are converting a sovereign states, independent state as like municipalities. See, these are all the developments which we are seeing in the country, weakening the constitution, posing a big challenge to the survival of the constitution. Executive in the country is a big sellout. In one of the IAS officers function, in IAS Officers Association in Bangalore, I was addressing the IAS officers. I told 75% of bureaucracy is a sellout. Then one of the senior officers stood up and said, no sir, it is 90% sellout. This is the situation insofar as executive is concerned. Judiciary is no exception, my friends. As a member of judicial family, I practiced as a lawyer in High Court of Karnataka for 25 years. I worked as a judge of Karnataka High Court for 10 years. After my retirement, I worked as a designated senior counsel in Supreme Court of India for 4 years. With all this experience, I am sorry to tell, with pain I am telling that judiciary is no exception. Unconstitutional judgments are coming, undemocratic judgments are coming, anti-people judgments are coming, judgments are coming to appease the government. This is how things are going. Appointment of judges has become a political affair, which was not there till recently. Every time, 1/3 of judiciary is vacant, sanctioned posts are vacant. Yes, I agree, there is inordinate delay in judiciary. Why this delay in judiciary? Because of more and more education to the people. Because of improvement in the living conditions. Because of awareness of rights by the common man. They are approaching the courts. You must take it as a good development. If they don't approach the courts for protection of their rights, for protection of their justice, they will go to the non-judicial appetites. They will approach the mafias. They will approach the rowdies. They will approach the extra-constitutional authority. Instead of that, coming to the courts is a welcome. But are we doing justice to them? No. A civil litigation takes in this country a minimum of 20 years to attain finality. A criminal litigation takes nearly 10 to 12 years to attain finality. Despite huge disposals in the country, there are nearly 3 crores plus cases pending. In addition to that, the top courts are now taking up certain cases on priority basis. See, even in our families we have priorities. What to spend, what not to spend. To which area we have to spend more. We have got priority. Like that, judiciary must also have priorities. When 80 lakh people lost their constitutional rights in Kashmir Valley by abrogation of Article 370, when it was questioned before the Supreme Court of India, even to this day, after 2-3 years, they have no time to find resolve. UPA Act was challenged. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UPA, that we call it as. It was challenged about 10 years back. You have no time to take it up. Sedition is another one area. Recently, when one of the journalists was charge sheeted under FIR was registered against him, Vijay Dubey. Some of you might have read in the newspapers. He challenged it. Supreme Court, while disposing that, yes, there is no prima facie evidence on record to register an FIR against him, they have quashed the FIR. But they did not go to the extent of quashing sedition. The Supreme Court said, you have to follow earlier what judgment that we have given in 1960. From 1964 till 2000, government has not followed the guidelines. Yet, you give space for it. Again, sedition law is now challenged before the Supreme Court. They have no time to go into that question. Like this, I can give many number. Judges' appointments, filling up of vacancies, funds to the judiciary. All these things are under control. Every time the executive tries to gain control over the judiciary. Today it is more. That is the reason why some of the judges, keeping an eye on post-retirement engagements, they are giving. Is it good? Is it healthy? Is it acceptable? Is it constitutional? Take for example, in Babi Masjid case, a masjid is converted to a temple. This is the type of judgment. An issue may come to an end in debate in public domain. But then, what you have done? You have converted a masjid into a temple. Can that be judgments be accepted? I can go on telling hundreds and hundreds of things. Like this, the executive is trying to control even the judiciary. The independence of judiciary is at stake. These are the developments which we have to see. Our election process, our fundamental rights, our rule of law, our welfare state, democratic institutions, human rights. I can go on telling hours and hours together on each of these topics. But then the country is such a situation. In such a situation, there is a big obligation on our part to save the Constitution. To save the Constitution, these are all the challenges. It is not only a question of delay in disposal of cases. There are so many other challenges. I was telling in the morning, the judiciary in the country is facing a challenge. What is that challenge? The challenge is internal challenge, external pressure, and slaves of traditionalism. Unless we overcome these things, independence of judiciary cannot be. Constitution is facing so many challenges. As I told you, delay in delivery system, justice delivery is one challenge. It is not just that. There is a big gap between law and justice. The science and technology brought about revolutionary changes in the society. Sitting in front of a TV, I can see the global changes, global events in my room. Standing in this podium, I can speak through mobile to the nook and corner of the world. In hours, I can travel from one corner of the world to the another corner. You might have heard one of the scientific achievements, that is cloning. You can manufacture 100 Nagamohan Dasas and allow to walk on the sun like sheep. You can convert a lemon into a cucumber, into a pumpkin. This is the type of technology. No doubt, these scientific technologies and achievements has helped humanity to a certain extent. But these scientific achievements have also created certain problems. To resolve those problems, There are no effective laws. Since there are no laws, problems are not in the street, they have now landed before the courts. You will be shocked if I say what type of problems that they have. Whether a child has got the right to demand the breast milk of mother is the question that is landed before the courts. Whether a woman can lend her home on rental basis is the question that is landed before the courts. If a child is born out of rented home, what is the motherhood? What is the fatherhood? What is the parenthood? What are the property rights? These are the issues. In my college days, I used to say, time is money. Now, a question is landed before the court. Whether time is property for the purpose of tax law. Peculiar questions. Unimaginable questions are landed before the courts. Whether courts are equipped fully to address these issues? No. Is there laws regulating these issues? No. Can these issues be on the street? No. When it comes to the doors of court, can we throw out on the ground that we are not equipped? Can we throw out that there are no laws regulating it? We have to find out a way. We have to find out a solution. This is the biggest challenge that is constitutionally facing. Therefore, under Constitution, there is one article called Article 368. 368 provides the power for the Parliament to amend the Constitution. By exercising this power, our Parliament has amended the Constitution for 105 times, 105 times in these 73 years. We have to now use this amending power for improving the Constitution. To update the Constitution, not throwing out the Constitution. This is another important challenge. Instead of amending the Constitution, update the Constitution, telling that Constitution is outdated, Constitution is irrelevant, is not an acceptable argument. Make the power of amending the Constitution, amend the Constitution, make right to food a fundamental right, right to education a fundamental right, right to health a fundamental right, right to social security a fundamental right, right to employment a fundamental right. That we are not doing. Therefore, there is scope for this thing, for improving, for developing, for updating, to address the current issues and problems before the nation. Instead of doing that, we are going for emotional issues, not issues relating to life. Among the members of legal fraternity, a big debate is going on. They have given a very good name. Way back in 1973, Supreme Court laid down the basic features of the Constitution in Keshwananda Bharati's case. Today, some of the senior lawyers are talking about revisit the Keshwananda Bharati. What is meant by revisit? Telling that judgment is not good, therefore the law laid down in that case is no more good law. If that is the case, I want to ask my friends who are arguing this, then what do you want? You don't want parliamentary democracy? You don't want secularism? You don't want social justice? You don't want supremacy of the Constitution? You don't want sovereignty of the nation? If that is so, what is alternative? You don't give alternatives, you don't want these things, and therefore you want to revisit the Supreme Court judgment. This is no good argument. This is no answer to the problems that we are facing. Some of the people are saying that when Constitution versus Quran, one West Bengal minister says, Quran will prevail over Constitution. Can we accept this? You keep your Quran in your house. You pray. You believe. It is left to you. But when question of the nation comes, When the question of society comes, when the question of country comes, it is the constitution that shall prevail over the religious beliefs. But unfortunately, against the constitution, some of the things are going on. In Sabarimala's case, the Supreme Court gave a judgment stating that religious beliefs versus constitutional rights, which shall prevail over which? The Supreme Court said constitutional rights shall prevail over the religious beliefs. But some of the political parties openly protested that we don't accept this. This is how the challenges, even if the Supreme Court gives a judgment, people are not ready to accept it. They are posing a big challenge. This is how unconstitutional things are done. Like that, there are number of issues which we ask. I told you already that social justice is under. They are making it. They don't change the name of social justice. It continues to remain in the preamble of the Constitution. Justice to all. What are they? Social, economical and political. First priority is given to which? Social. Or they are doing that. Reservation is only a part of social justice. Reservation alone is not social justice. Even this reservation is being made everywhere. There are more than 60 lakh plus sanctioned posts in the country remain unfilled. What happened to your reservation? From 92, the process of disinvestment has commenced. Hundreds and hundreds of public tech sector undertakings are being sold to private sector. When it was a public sector, there was a reservation. When you sold to the private sector, you lose the reservation. Lakhs and lakhs of jobs are lost which were available for reservation. There is no department in the country where there is no contract labor system. Whether it is state government or the central government, throughout the length and breadth of the country, we see there is contract labor system. When contract labor system, no reservation. It is not just outsourcing. Even in the question of outsourcing, there is no reservation. This is how social justice is being made irrelevant. Some people say that we have come to the one minister from Karnataka, one MP from the Karnataka who became minister in the central government, a couple of years back, he made a statement stating that we have come to the power only to change the constitution. I hesitate to mention his name. He makes a oath on the constitution and becomes parliament member. He makes a oath on the constitution and becomes a union government minister. And is a minister, he makes a statement, we have come to the power to change the constitution. I want to ask them, alright, there is no difficulty in changing the constitution if you provide a better constitution. You don't give a better alternative. Even you don't give an alternative where we can debate. But you say that we have to change this constitution. Why? This is the type of challenges that we are. All of you might have read in the newspapers, in Jantar Mantar at Delhi, in daylight, a group of young men burned the constitution. What is the meaning of it? Alright, any literature, any book, whether I may accept it or I may not accept it, that is different. But burning a book is our culture. Burning a book without reading it is a culture. Burning a book without understanding it is our culture. These are all the challenges that the country is facing, my friends. Therefore, in this background, our constitution, even after so many years, it continues to be relevant according to me. despite different religions, different castes, different languages, different food habits, dress habits, opinions, customs, traditions. We are all living together as Indians. The reason is we are governed by one constitution. Even after 73 years, it is proved to be a relevant document. Therefore, the world jurists say Indian constitution is not only the world's biggest written constitution, but it is one of the best constitutions and most relevant constitutions. When the world jurists give this opinion, our people say it is irrelevant, it is to be burned, it is to be changed. It is in this background we have to think, we have to debate. Look at our neighbors. Take Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan. When India became independent, they also became independent, little more or less. When we adopted a constitution, they also adopted constitution. What happened in those countries? Several times they changed the constitutions. They dismantled the elected democratic governance. They brought dictatorships, military rules, authoritarian regimes. Even now, there is no stability in these countries. Despite all differences, all diversities in our country, we are continuing in the path of constitution. Therefore, I say, even after 72 years of constitution, it is proved to be not only the biggest, it is one of the best constitutions and most relevant constitutions. In a situation, we want to make update the constitution. In order to update the constitution, we have to think and debate, make it more relevant. Therefore, our most important duty to save the constitution is we have to read the constitution, understand the constitution, imbibe the constitutional values, and live up to the constitution. That is the need of. If such a job is done by us, if that responsibility is discharged by us, I think that is the greatest tributes that we can pay to Mythili Sivaraman, who is no more and who is not with us. That is the greatest tributes that we can do. By doing that, let us cherish the ideals, the purpose for which she lived and fought and sacrificed. Let us continue in this path. Let us read the Constitution, understand the Constitution, and imbibe the Constitution values and live up to it. Thank you very much.